Welcome to our video on how to plant groundnuts. Learning how to plant groundnuts can be a rewarding experience. In this video, we'll walk you through everything you need to know to successfully grow groundnuts in your garden or farm. From understanding the basics of groundnut cultivation to selecting the right planting site and caring for your crop, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the wonderful world of groundnut cultivation. Groundnuts, also known as peanuts, are legumes that belong to the Fabaceae family, along with beans, lentils, and peas. They are native to South America, but today groundnuts are grown in various tropical and subtropical regions worldwide, including Africa, Asia, and the United States. Groundnuts are rich in protein, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals, making them a valuable food crop. These legumes thrive in well-drained sandy loam or sandy soil with a pH level between 5.8 and 6.2. They require full sunlight for optimal growth and prefer warm temperatures between 70 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 to 32 degrees Celsius. Groundnuts are typically grown as annuals, although they may behave as perennials in tropical climates. Groundnuts have a unique growth habit, where their flowers emerge above ground but later grow downward to form pods that develop underground. Each pod contains 2 to 4 seeds, known as kernels, which mature within 90 to 120 days after planting. Understanding the life cycle and growth habits of groundnuts is essential for successful cultivation and harvest. Before planting groundnuts, it's crucial to select an appropriate site that meets their specific requirements. Choose a location that receives full sunlight for at least 6 to 8 hours a day, as groundnuts thrive in sunny conditions. Ensure that the soil is well drained and loose, as compacted or waterlogged soil can lead to poor root development and yield. Test the soil pH to ensure it falls within the optimal range of 5.8 to 6.2. If necessary, amend the soil with organic matter such as compost or well-rotted manure to improve its fertility and structure. Avoid planting groundnuts in soil with a pH above 7.0, as this can result in nutrient deficiencies and poor growth. Prepare the planting site by removing any weeds, rocks, or debris that may interfere with seedling establishment. Loosen the soil to a depth of at least 6 to 8 inches, 15 to 20 centimeters. Using a garden fork or tiller, breaking up any clumps and creating a smooth, level surface. Consider planting groundnuts in raised beds or mounds to improve drainage and soil warmth, especially in areas with heavy clay soil or cool climates. Raised beds also make it easier to monitor and maintain the crop, as well as providing better access for harvesting. When choosing groundnuts to plant, look for healthy and mature seeds. Select seeds that are plump, firm, and free from any signs of damage or disease. Avoid seeds that are shriveled, discolored, or moldy, as they may not germinate properly or could introduce pathogens to the soil. Additionally, consider the variety of groundnut that suits your growing conditions and desired harvest. If possible, opt for certified seeds from reputable sources to ensure quality and reliability. Once you've selected the ideal planting site, it's time to sow your groundnut seeds. Begin by soaking the seeds in water for about 24 hours before planting to help soften the seed coat and encourage germination. This step can improve seed viability and promote uniform germination across the crop. After soaking, plant the groundnut seeds directly into the prepared soil at a depth of about 1 to 2 inches, 2.5 to 5 centimeters. Space the seeds approximately 6 to 8 inches, 15 to 20 centimeters, apart within rows, with rows spaced about 18 to 24 inches, 45 to 60 centimeters apart. This spacing allows the groundnut plants to develop healthy root systems and foliage without crowding each other. Cover the seeds with soil and gently firm the surface to ensure good seed-to-soil contact. Water the newly planted seeds thoroughly to settle the soil and provide moisture for germination. Keep the soil consistently moist but not waterlogged during the germination period, which typically takes about 7 to 14 days. As the groundnut plants begin to emerge, monitor their growth closely and provide adequate irrigation as needed to support their development. Once the plants have established themselves and are growing vigorously, you can reduce watering frequency slightly, allowing the soil to dry out slightly between waterings. Additionally, consider applying a balanced fertilizer with a formulation such as October 10th 10 to provide essential nutrients for plant growth and development. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for application rates and timing to avoid over-fertilization, which can damage the plants. Once your groundnut plants have emerged and established themselves, it's essential to provide ongoing care to support their growth and development throughout the growing season. Here are some key maintenance tasks to consider. Groundnut plants require consistent moisture, especially during periods of active growth and flowering. Water the plants deeply and evenly, ensuring that the soil remains consistently moist but not waterlogged. Monitor soil moisture levels regularly and adjust your watering schedule as needed to prevent drought stress or waterlogging. Keep the area around your groundnut plants free from weeds, which can compete with the plants for nutrients, water, and sunlight. Regularly remove weeds by hand or use mulch to suppress weed growth and conserve soil moisture. Be careful when weeding to avoid disturbing the groundnut plant's shallow roots. Consider fertilizing your groundnut plants periodically to provide them with essential nutrients for healthy growth and development. A balanced fertilizer with a formulation such as October 10th 10 can be applied according to the manufacturer's instructions. Avoid over-fertilization, as this can lead to excessive vegetative growth at the expense of pod development. Monitor your groundnut plants regularly for signs of pest infestation or disease. Common pests that may affect groundnuts include aphids, thrips, and caterpillars, while diseases such as leaf spot and pod rot can also occur. Implement appropriate pest and disease management strategies, such as cultural practices, biological controls, or approved pesticides, to minimize damage and protect your crop. Depending on the groundnut variety and growing conditions, your plants may benefit from additional support to prevent lodging and improve airflow around the foliage. Consider providing stakes or trellises for support, especially as the plants begin to produce pods and increase in size. Harvesting groundnuts at the right time is crucial to ensure optimal flavor and texture. Typically, groundnuts are ready for harvest when the plants begin to yellow and die back, indicating that the nuts have reached maturity underground. To harvest groundnuts, carefully dig around the base of the plants with a garden fork or shovel, being careful not to damage the nuts. Once harvested, shake off excess soil and allow the nuts to dry in a well-ventilated area for a few days to cure. Curing helps toughen the outer shell of the nuts and improves their storability. After curing, remove any remaining soil and trim the stems, leaving a short stub attached to the nuts. Store the harvested groundnuts in a cool, dry place with good airflow to prevent mold and rot. Properly cured and stored groundnuts can last for several months, providing you with a delicious and nutritious snack throughout the year. If you plan to save groundnut seeds for planting next season, select healthy, mature nuts from your harvest and store them in a cool, dry place until planting time. Be sure to label the seeds with the variety and date of harvest for future reference. With proper storage and care, your groundnut seeds can remain viable for planting in the next growing season, ensuring a bountiful harvest year after year. Planting groundnuts requires careful consideration of soil conditions, spacing, and planting depth to ensure successful germination and growth. Begin by preparing a well-drained soil bed with a pH level between 6.0 and 6.5, as groundnuts thrive in slightly acidic conditions. Incorporate organic matter, such as compost or well-aged manure, to improve soil structure and fertility. When planting groundnuts, space the seeds approximately 6 to 8 inches apart in rows that are 24 to 36 inches apart. Dig furrows or rows in the soil to a depth of about 2 inches, and place the seeds with the pointed end facing downward. Cover the seeds with soil and gently firm the surface to ensure good seed-to-soil contact. Water the planted area thoroughly to moisten the soil, but avoid overwatering, as excessive moisture can lead to rot and disease. Keep the soil consistently moist during the germination period, which typically takes about 7 to 10 days. Once the seedlings emerge, gradually reduce watering frequency to encourage deeper root growth and drought tolerance. Throughout the growing season, monitor the groundnut plants for signs of pests and diseases, such as leaf spots, wilting, or yellowing foliage. Implement appropriate pest management strategies, such as crop rotation, mulching, and timely application of organic or synthetic pesticides if necessary. As the groundnut plants mature, they will develop small yellow flowers that eventually produce pods containing the edible nuts. Harvest the groundnuts when the foliage begins to yellow and die back, typically 90 to 120 days after planting. Carefully dig up the plants and harvest the pods, then dry them in a warm, well-ventilated area for several days before storing or roasting for consumption. Monitor the groundnut plants for signs of nutrient deficiencies, such as yellowing or stunted growth, and adjust the fertilizer application as needed. Additionally, consider conducting soil tests periodically to assess nutrient levels and pH balance, making amendments as necessary to maintain optimal soil health. Keep the planting area free from weeds, as competition for nutrients and water can reduce groundnut yields. Use mulch or regular cultivation to suppress weed growth and maintain a clean, weed-free environment around the plants. Inspect the groundnut plants regularly for signs of pest infestations, such as aphids, leafhoppers, or caterpillars, and implement appropriate control measures, such as insecticidal soap, neem oil, or biological controls to manage pest populations. By following the steps outlined in this guide, from selecting the right planting location and preparing the soil to planting the seeds, providing adequate care, and harvesting the mature pods, you can enjoy a bountiful harvest of delicious and nutritious groundnuts. Remember to pay attention to the specific growing requirements of groundnuts, including soil type, moisture levels, and temperature preferences to ensure optimal growth and yield. With proper maintenance and care, you can cultivate healthy groundnut plants and enjoy the satisfaction of growing your own nutritious food at home.